Oh, that was so intense. My eyes were coercively made to open, and the scenery flew into my vision without my consent. I was walking along Tamagawa Street. My body was completely intact. Even though the previous sensation of colliding with the ground lingered distinctly within me, I was walking normally down the street. Not that what I willed had anything to do with it. Oh God, don't tell me we are going to experience every new-gen death. His body too, sturdier than mine. This wasn't me either. I had a nasty premonition. Suddenly, there was a strange man walking toward me. When I saw him, I was forced to acknowledge that my hunch had been right on the money. The man I passed was clothed in a suit, but for some reason, he wore a dark spider helmet on his head. The image he made was much too surreal. There were no other passers-by. I wanted to flee from here this very second. Despite that, the owner of the body my consciousness had come into went back towards the dark Spider-Man I just passed. A spider was standing right behind me, so close. It seemed like I could feel his breath. Going for my blind spot, he struck me in the stomach. All the tension dropped out of my body, and my vision went pitch black. If this is the second person, the pregnant man case, are we going to wake up? Or not even wake up, maybe he's still unconscious, I don't even remember. Are we going to experience the nurse cutting us open? I'm shaking, this is just gut punch after gut punch. After some time, I felt a searing pain in my abdomen. My mouth side opened up again. I was in an operating room. Before me stood Hazuki Shino. Her nurse's eyes open, her stomach bloody. Though she was deathly pale, she gave me a kindly smile. In her hand was a scalpel. She slowly laid it against my belly. Hazuki's hand pressed down. Her wrist appeared in my skin. Blood sprayed from the wound, catching on Hazuki Shino's face. Even then, her smile remained pasted on. I watched, overwhelmed by dread and pain, as she gradually slashed me open. I had viewed the spectacle once before, when I read Hazuki's memories. In short, this was the pregnant man incident. The pain in my stomach was becoming unbearable. Screaming and crying, I tried to somehow escape by squirming, but my limbs were tied down to the bed, and I couldn't move away. Shaking myself made the pain in my abdomen grow still more intense.
信仰の救いをあなたに。
My skin clearly sliced apart by a scalpel. Husky's fingers probed the opening from which blood overflowed. That stimulation alone stabbed me with enough agony to shatter my brain. Her fingers writhed inside me, and the feeling of them came through to me clearly. And just as I had seen before in the memories, Hazuki forced my wound to open up on both sides. The sensation of skin and flesh ripping, taking it straight on, sense anesthesia. I and the possessor of the body into which I had entered lost consciousness. I soon woke up again from the excess of pain. But Hazuki went on making the wound widen impossibly. I don't think stopped caring about little details, like which part of me hurt, about where in my body the pain was erupting from. I had the illusion that all my nerve endings were being pierced through with burning needles, one by one, and I passed out again, but I couldn't escape. The mere pain mercilessly forced my consciousness awake. My body convulsed. If I meant being released from the suffering, I thought I'd be fine with biting my tongue off. Next, Hazuki picked up a bloody fetus. It made a smile appear conversely revolting. This woman was insane. She took the remnants of the fetus she'd removed from her own body and plunged it into the depths of my stomach. Her hand and the fetus she held there shoved inside my innards, pouring into me, gnawing deeper and deeper. I started to vomit blood, and it got caught up in my throat. Even while I seemed about to suffocate from it, I went on emitting wheezing screams. Maybe because the pain had made my brain release too many neurotransmitters. My head felt weirdly vague, but the pain still didn't ease up. And I began to understand less and less of what was happening. Pain was all that controlled me. Hazuki withdrew her hand from my stomach and nodded with satisfaction.
よく我慢できましたね。
She said softly, as if she were dealing with a patient. Oh god, but... At almost the exact same time, somebody entered the operating room. The sound of his shoes rang out. I had no interest in whoever it was. I went on bawling and shrieking, exposed to nothing other than excruciating anguish. Seeing the unnatural swelling of my abdomen, I panicked. Together with the pain, I had begun feeling a kind of itchiness. It itched. It itched so bad. I wanted to scratch at the wound, but my hands were bound to the bed and I couldn't do it. Suddenly, a shadow fell across my side. The spider had appeared, looming in front of me. He picked Husky up in his arms and left the operating room. And after some time, returned by himself. I didn't know what he was thinking, but he had a sewing needle and some fishing line with him, and began ponderously stitching together the opening of my wound. At this point, the pain it caused was absolutely nothing compared to the pain of having a foreign object pushed into my body, the pain of my flesh tearing apart. The spider's suturing was incredibly sloppy. In elementary school, I could have done a better job. When he pulled at the fishing line, it chafed against the holes it made in my skin. The wounds grew more itchy. An unbearable itchiness. An itchiness that seemed to seethe up inside me. Itchy, itchy, itchy. I wanted to scratch it. If it let me, I'd be happy to die. The throbbing itch insinuated its way into my pain. Itchiness, more so than the pain, was driving me out of my mind. I need a break. Because of my mental state, it took me a while to notice that the scenery had switched at some point. I just took a short break between recording, got some tea. And this is disturbing. The ache and the itchiness subsided immediately, but I didn't see they had gone away completely. Now, even as I walked through the neighborhood of Shinsen, itchiness in the depths of my body and the sensation of something falling in my abdomen, and the pain like having a foreign needle plunging in and out all over my body, stayed behind in me as markedly as a tumor, continuing to psychologically torment me. A dark road, with few people on it, located away from the heart of the city. As I walked down it, I spotted a human figure coming my way. Since the road was narrow, we would have to anchor ourselves sideways to pass one another. But I went cold when I saw the appearance of the figure walking toward me. Oh, this is just taking, isn't it? It was that dark Spider-Man again. We crossed paths. Dark Spider displayed no particular reaction. My heart went into a tumult, and emotions resembling obsession rose at the back of my brain. A nasty old asshole had been hitting on my woman. It pissed me off. I wanted to kill him. That feeling, truly coming out of left field, drove me into motion. The face of my woman was vague in my memory. I couldn't recall her clearly. It was doubtful that she even existed in the first place. Despite that, the face of the nasty old asshole who'd been hitting on my woman appeared vividly at the back of my mind. I'd seen that face before. It was the victim of the staking incident. The memory leapt ahead, and it was in the familiar dark alleyway. It was the scene of the staking. In front of my eyes was the victim who died there. I was tightly clenching the aging man's neck. His body convulsed violently and bubbles frothed from the mouth, and his eyes rolled back into his head. I went faintly cold, tasting the sensation of someone's life, disappearing in my own hands. At last, the man's body stopped moving. After confirming this, Komeda, carried out the actual homicide in this case. I took my hands off his neck, kicked his fallen corpse in the side, and began to make my departure. Hearing a voice, I turned around to look, and the man who should have died had risen, the whites of his eyes showing. His hands reached for me. With a shriek, I punched him down, but though his movements themselves were sluggish, he kept rising without fail. I seized his neck again, in the same way as before, more powerfully than before, putting my whole body and spirit into it. I strangled him as hard as I could, with enough strength to snap the bones in his neck. He soon stopped moving again. This time I put my ear to his mouth, making sure he wasn't breathing. I let go of him. For some time, I watched over him. And then, for some reason, the man who should have been dead jerked again, his body quivering, and began to get up. His expression itself remained absolutely unchanged. He had the face of the one who was dead. Yet he rose and approached me. As I started to retreat, terrified, my foot trod on something. When I looked down at my foot with a start, a huge number of cross-shaped stakes were scattered across the roadway. A phrase from one of Phantasm's songs played at the back of my brain. Break down this stake. Break this stake. I had to drive a stake into this monster in front of me and stop it from moving. If not, I'd be screwed. Enthralled by that sense of danger, I hurled the rising man back against the wall and picked up a stake. I didn't know when it happened, but my other hand was already holding a hammer. My consciousness returned to the operating room, but I wasn't the pregnant man. Oh, the vampire house murder. I feel the developers are just laughing at me at this point. Getting the B ending is such a hassle, and this is just suffering. Although the pain from it and the sensation of an object in my stomach kept on torturing my nerves to the very limit, there were two human forms in my field of sight. They watched me steadily with bated breath. One was Darth Spider. One other was Hazakishino. The uniform wasn't stained by blood now. And so I soon figured out that this wasn't a pregnant man incident, but instead something taking place at a different time. I'd been made to lie in bed. The needle for an IV drip was stuck in my arm. But it wasn't as if anything were flowing into me. Liquid oozing down the IV shield was flowing backwards. Blood. My blood. The blood circulating within my body. What was flowing out through the IV needle. A terribly grungy looking bucket was the only thing at the end of the tube. Blood filled it to the brim. Into it fell one drop, then another drop. The blood dripping from the tube. My head went blank. I was constantly dizzy. That pleasant feeling. Like my consciousness was about to go off into the distance. Mingled with the ongoing pain left behind in me from the pregnant man. And I was overcome by an amazingly peculiar sensation. As if they were showing off to me, Darth Spider and Hazakishino embraced each other gently, like lovers, supporting one another. Hazuki had a blissful look on her face. I couldn't comprehend how she could make a face like that. Right in the middle of creating a desiccated corpse from the vampire case. But before I could think about why I had trouble understanding it, the pain turned severe. My throat became incredibly dry, and my sight suddenly went dark. And finally my consciousness began slowly clouding. I realized that this was a vicarious experience. I was being forced to vicariously experience the sequence of Ninja murders, pain and fear from each one of them. I was being forced to taste it. If so, then there were still 3 remaining. Becoming aware of that, I despaired.
先生、
Someone addressed me, and I came back to myself. Should have been in the operating room, but I was standing in the hospital corridor. Oh, this is... that brain scooping.
高階先生、
Though without any connection to my will, my body turned to face behind me. There was Hazakishino, wearing a somewhat melancholy expression.
折り入ってご相談があるんですが。ここだと人目につきますから、こっちに。
He said apologetically, then entered an examining room. I shouted, "Don't go," in my heart. But of course my voice didn't reach him. Since the current time was outside treatment hours, there was nobody in the examining room. Hazuki continued toward the back. I, Dr. Takashina, followed her without harboring any suspicions whatsoever. He came to an abrupt stop. That was a jump scare without sound. That freaked me out for a second. Just as I wondered what she was doing, a man with something black on his head sprang out from the shadow. While I stood there in startlement, he put something like gauze over my mouth. I then lost consciousness. Oh, that sound! A huge noise rang in my ears. My skull was vibrating ferociously. It wasn't just vibrating, it was being whittled away. I felt that sensation distinctly. The sound died down, and when I opened my eyes, I was back in the operating room. A number of lights like gathering of eyes hung down from the ceiling. Shining brilliantly, they illuminated my face.
頭蓋骨が外れましたよ、先生。まあ、先生の硬膜、とても綺麗だわ。
Hazuki said in a tone of rhapsody, and used a pair of scissors to cut away the tough membrane covering my brain. Feeling it directly as it happened, I was entrapped in an impatient, sickening frame of mind. I rather Dr. Takashina hadn't known that Hazuki was capable of performing surgery, not to mention open brain surgery. That was why astonishment came first, followed by my noticing that anesthesia kept my body from moving. Hazuki wasn't the only one in the operating room. And with the black thing on his head, that spider, was there too. He stood there, immobile, without saying a word.
人は脳死状態でも人工呼吸器なしで1週間以上生きたっていう事例があるんです。ご存知ですか？
Smiling gently, Hazuki murmured something strange by my ear.
それってつまり、脳がなくてもしばらくは生きていられるっていうことですよね。先生はどれくらい生きられるかしら？
I shuddered. No terror rolled through me. Hazuki held a spoon up before my eyes. The spoon soon left my field of sight.
高階先生に信仰の救いあれ。
The feeling of something that didn't belong there pushed hard into my head. I say in my head, but I don't mean that metaphorically. It was literally inside my head. The sense of something entering and moving around in there. There was no pain. Even so, it was more enough to repulse me and terrify me. Imagine just feeling the pressure. Oh, that sound! Ah! Hazuki shook something. I was too late for reading that. I glanced to see what it was, moving my eyes along. A grey pinkish hue, but its shape was smashed, almost like salmon roe. Once I understood what it was, part of my own brain. My thread reached the melting point. I begged it to stop. But Hazuki's head didn't stop moving. On the contrary, her expression shifted to one of ecstasy, and her cheeks flushed as she recklessly took deeper into Dr. Takashina's brain. Oh, the text is moving so fast. And suddenly, I was filled with horrible hatred. Suddenly, I felt blissful. Suddenly, a fierce lust surged up in me, and my chest tightened adherently. She stirred my brain around, simultaneously stirring around my emotions. Emotions different from what I actually felt welled up in me. Oh, the text is going so fast. And my neighbor is slamming doors again, so I'm sorry if my microphone picks it up as always. Shit, this is suffering. This actually is suffering. Group dive was first, Pregnant second, taking third. That's brain. Oh no, vampire house 4th. Brain 6th. Was that hand 7th? I don't remember what the 7th case was. And I'm not even exaggerating, I'm actually lightheaded. Because I'm so unsettled. Oh, let's continue. It fell separately from my heart, my soul. Consciousness known as me, thrusting at me the ambiguity of my own existence. As my psyche went to shreds via this mental rape, which would ultimately lead to the denial of my existence, I found myself walking under a railroad overpass, taking the order into consideration. This time it would be the delicious hand. I suspected my body had become female. I was awfully hungry. Maybe the victim had been on a diet or something. I crossed paths with the Dark Spider-Man. Again, he appeared and disappeared when I least expected it, given how much his appearance had made him stand out. Why hadn't the police or the media picked up any information about him? Well, I guess since he is able to just alter people's perceptions, I don't think people around either are not there or I don't really notice him. I mean, if he can appear as Norrisay, then obviously he can avoid arousing suspicion. And I'm about to have pizza. It's almost dinner time for me, but I'm not sure if I'm hungry anymore. That spider spoke for the first time. He pointed at my right hand as he said it. As a real spectacle. I, who had been walking along quickly, stopped and took a look at my right hand. For some reason, it was holding 5 unwrapped skewers of chicken. No, those are fingers, aren't they? Each skewer was sticking out from between my fingers of my closed fist. Brown-looking steam. The juicy scent of cooked meat. It stimulated my appetite. My mouth watered. Unable to take it for another second, I bit in. An intense pain bolted through my fingers. But I didn't stop chewing. It was the first time I'd ever eaten such delicious skewered fingers. Chicken. Lots of juice poured into the meat. Refreshing. Delicious, so delicious, I thought I'd die. I polished off the 5 chicken skewers in the blink of an eye. The text was going so fast I can't keep up without my noticing it. That spider had disappeared, but I didn't give a damn about such a weird guy. I wanted to eat more. More chicken fingers. My stomach sought more food. My fingers on my right hand throbbed with pain. But my appetite far surpassed it. I nodded back at my hand. I just hadn't been holding skewered chicken. I was cradling an arm-sized hunk of bone with meat attached to it. Its dripping juices stained the sleeve of my blouse, turning it reddish black. When had I obtained it, and how long had I been carrying it? That, too, stopped mattering in the face of my hunger. I sank my teeth into the meat with all my might. Excruciating pain. I tore it apart with my teeth. I masticated it. I tasted it. I swallowed it. It was a soft and fairly fatty meat. A bit further into it. Both my hands and the area around my mouth had gone slick with lard. But I didn't let it bother me. This was deliciousness I'd never experienced before. I bit the meat off the bone. Fat spread in my mouth, seeping in, like it was melting, leaving behind a unique aftertaste. It hurt for some reason. It hurt so bad I thought I'd die, but I kept chewing. Compared with the size of the bone, there wasn't very much of the meat itself. I soon devoured all of it. At the end, I licked up the thin scraps of flesh. just barely clicking to the bone. Savoring even the bone stays, I'm almost sucking at it. The 5 thin bones protruding at the end of it burned so hard that they wouldn't break if I bit them. I gave them a good gnawing. Getting so intense I almost crumpled in place, ran through me, and with tears streaming down my face, I lapped up the juice steaming pleasantly from within the bones. I ripped one of the bones off while collapsing in place. Somehow the stimulation of it cheered me. I rolled it around in my mouth. Munch, crunch, munch, munch. When I swallowed it, it got trapped in my throat and I couldn't breathe. I unconsciously began to swing my legs around, kicking it wildly, but without taking heed of it. A cord had wounded on my ankles and I couldn't move freely. A spider stood before me. As I writhed, the exposed bones of my right hand stuck to the ground. The vibrations from it sent pain spreading through my whole body, like waves on water. I pissed myself and passed out as I suffocated. I never woke up again. You know, I'm recording this whole B route in one go. I'm not sure if that's a good idea, to be honest. This is seriously messing me up. And I think I'll just, since my next week, the week when these parts are being uploaded, I'm having a very exceptionally busy week. So I'm recording this all in advance, and I think I'll just upload them as 30-minute parts, just to pace it a bit. Holy shit. What were the developers thinking? I hid with my eyes in a dim alley. The backdrop was a little different from before. As I walked, I leaned on the shoulder of a thuggish guy with his face pummeled to a pulp, looking like he was about to cry. The two of them were in an awful state, myself included. Their clothes were drenched in blood and their faces had puffed up, and they chipped in the boar's teeth. This is the murder of those 3 people who assaulted Takumi, isn't it? The one who had done this was probably me. They were the 3 old thugs who picked a fight with me, and after this, they would have their torsos torn apart and would die. Then the dark Spider-Man stood at the end of their path.
おいてめえ、あれ、一体どういうことだ?
The guy who was lending me his shoulder yelled at that spider, but with his face looking the way it was, his intimidation factor pretty much dropped by half.
あの日常とかいう野郎、なんなんだよ! あいつ、化け物みたいだったぞ!
それで返り討ちにあって逃げてきたんすか。だらしないっすね。
とりあえず、金、よこせよ。
金?
とぼけんなよ、こら!
As if he's going to let you walk away. As if he's going to let you go to the police saying, a guy with a dark spider helmet made us do this.
てめえが言ったんじゃねえか。西条いたぶれば謝礼するとかってよ。
One of them seized the dark spider, grabbing him by the collar. He heaved him up and smacked the black helmet.
ふざけたもんかぶりやがって。なめてんのか。外せ。外せよ、こら。
He forced the helmet to come off. I had an idea of whose face would appear beneath it, and it really was. To a Mamoru's fearless face. It was Suki Shino's accomplice, saying he had been the other Nugent criminal. Drew rammed a knee into the belly of the guy who was making a grab for him. Polish evident in how he carried himself set him utterly apart from the thugs and their violence.
ま、君たち3人とも用済みなんで。
The ground shook slightly.
なんだ今の。
I felt a presence at Sua's back, immersed in darkness, deep in a narrow alley. Something was there, moreover, prompted me to imagine it as being of abnormal size. In addition, it let out an uncanny growl. Though we couldn't see it, the vivid bloodlust emitted by that monster hit all three of us our hearts with her utterly. Holy shit! At last it showed itself, a literal monster, together with footsteps that sounded like a ground rumbling. So grotesque, nothing else like it existed anywhere on Earth. His brown skin glistened wetly, and his colossal head set low upon its shoulders. Its red eyes glistened fiercely, and his mouth was torn wide across its face on either side, and his wrists were as thick around as logs. That bipedal monster came up to Sua's side and opened his mouth all the way. It rows of sharp fangs shone, reflecting the light of the street lamps. His roar was as low as a growl, and put far greater fear into me than any beast I'd heard before in my life. It had the ferocity to make those who heard it quiver down to their very souls.
なんだこれ。
スパークウォーズが好きなんすよ。
Sua alone appeared completely unbothered by this monster's appearance. On the contrary, he touched the monster's leg with apparent satisfaction, stroking it.
それに出てくるエイリアンス。
A second roar, and the monster pressed a step closer to the dog-still trio. I tried to run. There was no way I could escape. I tried to call for help. There was no one in the area. No overwhelming power discrepancy. The difference in our latent potential as species was much too great. With the beast before us, we three went all too helpless. For the first time in our lives, we experienced heartfelt fear. When people end up like that, they fall silent, shrink back, become unable to move so much as a single finger. The monster let out one breath, and it swung down, looked like arms. In an instant, the two bodies were torn apart, as if they were dolls. Other intestines scattered across the street, screaming, and it hurled at the divided corpses viciously, burning them on the handles attached to a telephone pole, dangling them down.
あとは君だけっすよ。
Let me guess, we're going to feel every last bit of it, aren't we? Sua's gaze penetrated me. I awoke to the fact that he was the one setting this alien to work. I told myself that this was a delusion, but it didn't do any good. Faced with absolute terror and overwhelming violence, I just sank down and pissed myself. Afterward, it was all I could do to look dazedly up at that monstrosity. And it was ripped apart. Unless I got a taste of this killing method that regular people would never, ever experience, I breathed my last. How many times have I vicariously died by now? 3 times, 1 time, 7 times, 4 times, 2 times, 5 times. Human flesh is pretty damn tasty. It hurts. No more. Black Spider's getup is surreal. A gag? Well, how many times have I died? Who are you saying died? I'm not dead. That monster is like straight out of a horror movie. But you have said that monster came from Spark Wars. Yeah, what about it? Human flesh is pretty damn tasty. The bones, too. Why does that spider wear black? That's because you know his hot stuff. Yes, he's very cute. That makes this even more disturbing. But she's scary. She's crazy. That's what makes her a hottie. If that spider is made of bones, what's his meat? This is similar to water tortures in this. But it drives people insane. How many times have I died for a gag? Wait, is it a gag or what? Not passed away, died. Death, death, death. It's surreal, no more. Look, bones. I don't wanna die. Back. I died. So kill me.